Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me again. It is CALLOUS, of course, and it is Rozes against Garay for CALLOUS Invitational 4 play-ins, round of 4 in Group A. Rozes won Game 1. If he wins here, it's going to be a 2-0. Gary's going to be out, and Rozes will be in the finals of his group. And of course, if Gary wins, he will send us to a third game. So let's get back into it. I will switch sides for continuity. Rozes was on the bottom last time. He'll be on the bottom again. Gary's got a Scarm lead, and it's a Zapdos lead for Rozes. Coming off his double Sandvale game, what is Gary going to do to respond? Looks like he's not going to change too much. Looks like he's going to go for Scarm Bliss, a reactionary team yet again. There is an Earthquake and a Soft Boil. Dugtrio's got to be adamant to be doing that kind of damage against Blissey. And pressing the issue with Earthquake, Ice Beam, critical hit. Deja Vu kicking in here. This exact same thing happened in the Wellu versus Bush Tush matchup not all that long ago. Dugtrio had a Blissey dead to rights. The only way out would have been a crit or a freeze. And on the one and only attempt, bam, there's the crit. And it may end up being very, very relevant. Had Blissey been dead and Dugtrio still alive here, totally different dynamic than what we have now, where in fact the Dugtrio is dead and the Blissey is alive and could potentially later in the game get a soft boiled off and be a huge problem. In fact, that could be right now. Hidden Power, there is a crit, so maybe Zapdos with a crit could Thunderbolt here. And wow, Gary's even going to play around that. Gary, uber conservative, not even comfortable going for soft boil there. He's not even willing to risk the possibility of a crit. I think the overwhelming majority of players, hell, you know for a fact the Zapdos doesn't have HP fighting because we saw the Hidden Power. I think the overwhelming majority of players there would have gone for soft boiled on Bliss, but Gary did not. He is not even comfortable with the potential of a critical hit. He even plays around that. That is some conservative play for Gary. Possibly too conservative, honestly. I would have clicked soft boiled there. Who knows? Nevertheless, Metagross trades with Zapdos via Explosion. We saw Thunder Wave and some other shenanigans, but ultimately it was just a trade, and Gary is going to retain that lead that he had from that very critical, pun intended, Ice Beam critical hit earlier. Will-O-Wisp there, good turn for Rozes. All that he gets out of that as a bad thing is he gets a little bit of spikes damage on his meta that gets forced out, but the burn far more important. Rozes definitely with the advantageous turn. Gengar comes back in on Scarm as a second layer of spikes comes down. Unclear if Rozes has a spiker based on a spinner. Based on the kind of team that he's shown so far, I'd say probably not. He could theoretically have something like an offensive Starmie in the back. But other than that, I really don't see it. I don't think Claydol makes a lot of sense for him. Certainly Celebi here. I mean, the last poke being something like a doll just seems more or less impossible to me. I'd have a really hard time envisioning that, but I guess you never know. There's Leech Seed on the Scarm. Those two layers are still there. The Scarm is still burnt. I don't know what else the Celebi could do to Scarm. Probably not a whole lot. It actually does have Hidden Power Fire. Quite uncommon, though I do feel I've been seeing more and more of that these days. And there is last poke Kingdra actually for Rozes. That's certainly not something I was expecting, and I don't think Gary was either. But this is where what we talked about earlier, the Blissey being alive, could be an issue. So Kingdra goes for Rain Dance here. It will now outspeed the fast Starmie. And Hidden Power, Grass or Electric there is going to do 49%. Psychic comes back for Gary and a Specs drop. Annoying, but should not matter because a non-crit Psychic still does not kill Kingdra here, should he go for that, and there is Hidden Power keeping up the pressure. At this point, Gary going to switch gears, going to play defensively, and start recovering, trying to stall out those rain turns. There are two left. There's Hidden Power, 52%, and there's another recover. Now there's only one rain turn left. How much will Rozes push this issue? Does he at some point switch to Celebi or to Gengar? He goes Hidden Power again. One more crit opportunity. Doesn't find it. And there is the recover for Gary. Now the Specs drop may matter should Starmie start playing more aggressively, and indeed he does. There is Psychic, there is Rain Dance. Swift Swim again triggering Kingdra now faster, but he will not survive another Psychic. Gonna stay in anyway, goes for the crit, does not find it, And Gary doesn't go for the killing blow either. He opts for a cover, but Kingdra's still in range to where a Psychic may end his day. Nevertheless, Rozes goes for it. Hidden Power and Psychic respectively. If there was any doubt about whether or not it would live, there's a critical hit to make sure it absolutely doesn't. And we've got ourselves a 3-5 with Gary in the lead. Gengar coming in for revenge and will be successful in that endeavor. He outspeeds and kills the Starmie with a Thunderbolt. However, Blissey is safe from anything here other than Boom or some random physical move like a Focus Punch or a Sludge Bomb or something that this Gengar absolutely does not have, and there is the soft-boiled. Bliss is back in the game at 82%. Meteor Mash hurts, and Thunderbolt is not going to be proper retaliation. Good turn for Rozes here. And Gary's going to have to figure out what to switch into the meta. He may fodder something. That's exactly what he does. And then follow up with the Dugtrio. This is a good trade for Gary, losing the Burnt Scarm after it already was really low, after it already established 2 layers of spikes, to trade with the Metagross effectively via the Dugtrio. I'm surprised that Rozes allowed that to happen, but it doesn't look like he has a lot of options at this point of the game. He's got only 3 pokes left. Now he's got only 2. The choices are limited. 2 to 3 situation. Gary still has an unrevealed last poke in the back. Here comes Celebi trying to do something to the Dugtrio, who is stuck on Earthquake. Here's Bliss and Leech Seed. Obnoxious for Bliss without a doubt. Gives Celebi a lot of survivability without a doubt, but is never ever going to kill the Bliss. Goes for the Psychic there, looking for a crit. As it turns out, even with a crit, it wouldn't have been enough, but the crit does not come, and Blissey gets the soft-boiled off yet again. This is all a big snowball effect of that very unfortunate Dugtrio against Blissey situation earlier in the game. That critical hit seems to have very far-reaching consequences. Had the Dugtrio killed the Blissey, which is what would happen in the overwhelming majority of the time if you were to do that, then I think this whole game is different. But the crit came up huge for Gary. Super clutch, exactly when he needed it. Killed the Dugtrio, and as such, this Blissey has been an issue all game long. And insult to injury, she finds an Ice Beam freeze as Gengar comes in. Going to need to thaw very quickly to have any chance here. And does not. Remains frozen solid here. Comes back to Celebi. Celebi is going to eat a Thunderbolt. Obviously, Fire Punch is not going to be the play for Gengar because he doesn't want to thaw out the opposing Gengar. But more 10% hacks. Thunderbolt finds a para. There's Explosion. Celebi down. Only the frozen Gengar remains for Rozes. Otherwise, we are going to a Game 3. I can't imagine, even if he does thaw immediately, that the Gengar can beat this Blissey with anything other than Boom, which of course is not going to get it done because Gary does still have 1 Pokemon, the Dugtrio, remaining, whereas Rozes has only this Gengar. And there's Calm Mind. That certainly looks like checkmate to me. Rozes not conceding, which is absolutely his prerogative, but it looks almost certain to me that we will be heading to a 3rd game, and just total insult to injury here. Gengar just never even thawing. It's totally irrelevant. It's just a middle finger to Rozes. Hopefully he does not let this tilt him because this game was ugly. Relevant one-sided hacks, the biggest one being the critical hit early on against the Dugtrio, but there were things after that as well. Gary Oak is going to give Rozes the beatdown. Rozes courteous enough to say GG, even though it wasn't. Gary even acknowledges that it wasn't. He says not really when Rozes says GG. I can't help but agree. I commend the sportsmanship, but I can't help but agree. This was not the best game in CALLOUS Invitational play-ins, and Gary is going to be the beneficiary of some luck, and thankfully for him that he was, because had he not gotten the luck, had this game gone neutral luck, Rozes probably wins here and Gary would be eliminated. But instead, we are going to a 3rd game. Whatever happened in Game 1, whatever happened in this game, don't matter anymore. Totally clean slate, new fresh start. Game 3 is the only game that matters now because one of these players will be eliminated. Find out who that is next. Please do hit that like button if you've enjoyed the series so far.